And I have placed in my notes this morning 3 ways that men ought to be acting like Christ to their families. 3 responsibilities that men ought to be fulfilling if they are to truly be Christ-like in the home. The first, a godly man, a godly father, a godly husband must imitate Christ as a provider. Christ is the ultimate provider to all of us. He provides salvation to His people. He gives the sheep salvation through the finished work on the cross. He says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I lay down my life for the sheep." His family, His people receive His providence, His providing care. He provides eternal hope to His believers. He provides us with the Holy Spirit. That was what our subject was in Sunday school this morning. We're reading through the Bible together. And this morning we were in John 14. And in John 14, Jesus made those profound words. He said, "I will ask the Father, and He will send you another Comforter." Talking about the Holy Spirit. Christ is the ultimate provider for His people. Likewise, husbands and fathers are called to be providers. You don't have to turn there, but if you'd like, you can go to 1 Timothy 5:8, and I want to read a passage to you. 1 Timothy 5 and verse 8 says, "But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." Hear that again? 1 Timothy 5:8. Write it down. Put it in your wallet. Keep it. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, "But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those in his own house, he has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel." The newer translations, in fact, that was King James rendering. The ESV that we have in the pews actually says it's worse than a non-believer. Worse than a non-believer. Now, I realize in today's society, most families have situations that both parents work. And a few months ago, or about a month ago from now, I guess, I preached on the subject of what? Mother's Day. And on Mother's Day, what did we talk about? We talked about the industriousness of the mother and how important she is in the home and everything the mother brings to the home. And part of what the mother brings to the home is strength and security and oftentimes financial blessing to the home. And that's fine. That's the way it can be. And it doesn't have to be that the husband is the only one who works in the home. But I will say this. If I see a family that's not eating what they need to be eating, I don't go to the mom and say something to the mom. I go to the dad and I say, "Dad, why aren't you working? Dad, why aren't you at work? Why aren't you scrubbing whatever you need to scrub to put food on your table? Why aren't you washing whatever you need to wash to put food on your table?" If that is the case, it is the man's responsibility. If the family is not getting what it needs, you look at the verse, and the male pronouns there are not there by accident. If any provides not for his own house, he is worse than an infidel. That's not an accident. And sometimes masculine pronouns can be used for both genders, but I believe in this case it is very specific. We will face God one day, gentlemen, every one of us. And what I see today in the world, a lot of families where the father has abandoned the home. Always but physically. He's in the home, but he has abandoned his responsibility as provider. I believe this verse is a wake-up call, because it says those who provide not for their own. If we allow our families to go hungry, if we allow our wives and children to go without. Now, I know there are some of you who are going to come up to me after service today and say, "Well, there are some men who are physically infirm and unable to work." I hope you understand that there are exceptions to everything, and that would be a good exception to something like what I'm saying here. But that is not the vast majority of this situation. The vast majority of this situation is people who, and especially men, who have allowed the woman in their life to become the supporter in their life and just said, well, she can handle it, I don't need to. God has called men to be providers for their household. Number 2,